I have always wanted to solve mysteries. My favourite type of mystery is a whodunit, where the identity of the murderer is not revealed until the end, and you have to follow the clues to figure it out yourself. For just over a year now, I have been working on the cases of Agatha Christie. And this will be my 6th showdown with the Queen of Crime. Hi everyone, welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin to Solve Mysteries video extravaganza. I have been making my way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and I'm homebound. Dun. I've been making my way through as many Agatha Christie books as I can get my hands on. It's so echoey, I've just realised. I'm so sorry about the audio on this, okay? This is a travel adventure, so we're just gonna have to wing it. Anyway, I have been making my way through the Agatha Christie catalogue in the hopes that I can solve the whodunit before the reveal. I am pitting myself, aptly named Slagatha, against Agatha in the hopes that I can crack the case. I give myself a point if I figure out the person who did it before the reveal. However, if I do not guess the killer correctly before the reveal, then the point goes to Agatha. Not that anyone's surprised, but I'm also drinking some red wine. I am prefacing this round with a retraction from a previous Agatha Christie round. I previously gave myself a point for And Then There Were None because I did guess the killer at one point. However, due to the nature of that book, no spoilers for that book in this video by the way, or any other Agatha Christie other than the one I'm reading. Even though I did get the killer at one point, it wasn't my final guess because Agatha Christie cheated, okay? She cheated! But anyway, some lovely people pointed it out in the last video. That my own rules were rather contradictory because it wasn't my final guess before the reveal. So I'll let you have it. And that means I'm taking a point off me and giving it to Agatha. How generous am I? So let's take a look at the scoreboard. The scores currently stand at Slagatha 3, Agatha 2. I did manage to figure out the whodunit of Death on the Nile, the murder of Roger Ackroyd, and Hercule Poirot's Christmas, so those 3 points go to me. The 2 I did not solve are And Then There Were None and 450 from Paddington, so those 2 points go to Agatha. The mystery I will be attempting to solve in this video is the body in the library, with an added twist. I will attempt to solve this while I stay 2 nights in a library myself. I have booked an incredible stay at Gladstone's library, which has incredible bedrooms and you can actually stay overnight. You can book as long as you want actually, and I will be showing you a lot more of the reading rooms, the grounds, the actual library and all of that in tomorrow's segment. But just for now, it's strictly business, okay? Strictly business. Back to me, thank you. I just think it'll be amazing trying to solve the body in the library while in an actual library. I need to give huge credit to Simon from Savage Reads for the idea and suggestion for this video. I premiered a video of me reading an Agatha Christie book on a sleeper train, trying to solve that mystery before I reached the end of the line, and Simon suggested that I should stay in this actual library and try to solve the body in the library, so thank you Simon if you're watching this. He gave me that idea in August 2022 and it's now May 2023. That's how long this video has been in the works. I better deliver. If I don't solve this case, I'm going to be really disappointed. Not only am I going to be solving this mystery, honestly, it just keeps getting better and better. I have also invited my patrons, tentatively titled the Slagatha Sleuths, to join me in my case cracking antics. We are essentially buddy reading this book. We are going to be sharing theories, clues, suspects. However, I will not let their decisions or their theories influence my own. This will still be me strictly cracking this case. I just thought I'd make it a little bit more fun. I'm going to need all the help I can get though, because this will be the second Miss Marple book that I've read. The first one, 450 from Paddington, I did not solve. That one was just ridiculous in my opinion, okay? Miss Marple is a lazy cow and she didn't have to finger up the entire book to solve the mystery. I did more on that sleeper train last year than Miss Marple has ever done in her life. I'm still not over that. So I hope my little sleuths can help, and if you'd like to join my Patreon to join in on any more of these kind of antics in the future, then I do have a link in the description box. Come join Slagatha's Sleuths. Before I continue, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy and subscribe if you haven't already. I only have tonight and tomorrow to solve this case, so what are we waiting for? What are we dilly-dallying on? Come on, and let's get straight into this investigation. This vlog is going to be filled with spoilers for The Body in the Library, so if you haven't yet read it and you want to, I would recommend pausing this video and coming back to it when you've read it. But if you don't care for spoilers, then welcome in, grab yourself a drink, we're going to get straight to it. So I have read the first 105 pages of The Body in the Library so far. That is the first 8 chapters of the book, and this is the segment that I am reading before the live show tonight with my patrons, before we get into our first initial suspects. So how am I going to organise this video? What am I going to do to keep this mystery in check? Well, I got myself a cheeky little whiteboard, and this is going to be what I use as my sort of murder board. First thing we should do is write the name of the book on the top. That'll help. So The Body in the Library, it's about where someone is discovered dead in a library. So the murder actually happens like very early on. Literally the second page of the book is one of the characters waking up the owner of the house, telling them that they found a body in the library. It must be one of the quickest starts of an Agatha Christie novel. We're going to have this side as the murder, and we're going to do it in pink, just to make murder a bit more fun, you know? And we're just going to have to rest this on my tits. And that's the only way I can do this. The murder. That's definitely not in the centre. That's fine. Can you even see? I don't even think you can see. Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise, I should have tested this. I should have got thicker markers. So before we get into the characters, because naturally all of them will be suspects, we are going to go through the person who was found dead. I haven't written anything down. I've just highlighted things. So this might be a little bit chaotic, but it's all good. So at the very start, we don't know who this is. We do find out pretty quickly, but at the start, we don't actually know who this is. All we know is that it is a body of a young woman. Firstly, name, no idea. For now. Young woman. Cause of death, apparently she was strangled. You can't even see what I'm writing down. I'm so sorry. I really should have thought this one through. And she was found in a house with a library where the owners had no idea who she was. So that's very suspicious, isn't it? It's very weird. So the place where she's found is called Gossington Hall. I just feel like I'm a teacher in a school or something. She was discovered at 7:15. She was found on an old bearskin hearth rug. I don't even think I spell anything right there. And she was dressed in a backless evening dress. I really do have to use my boobies as support. And she was dressed for dancing. It looked like she was maybe partying. She looked like she was going out and having fun. But what is she doing in Gossington Hall? What is she doing there? Nobody knows who she is in this house, but they do realise that the window has been forced. Did she come in on her own volition? Did somebody in the house strangle her to death because they thought she was an intruder? Did somebody dump the body there? Window forced? Apparently the window being forced was an amateur job, and it was forced with a chisel. So I feel like that could be a very important clue. And apparently the murder weapon is a satin waistband of her own dress, which was passed round the neck and crossed at the back. So a satin waistband seems to be the murder weapon. And what's interesting here is that it says, wouldn't have needed great strength. That is, if the girl was taken by surprise, there are no signs of a struggle. And I feel like that is an important part. It means that the female characters can definitely be suspects. So let's leave the murder stuff for now, and then I will just keep adding to it when we find out more from the first 105 pages. That isn't everything, but I do want to now introduce the suspects. Honestly, half the fun is picking the colour. I'm going to do this one in purple. The suspects. Can you see that? I feel like, yeah, that's a lot better than before. I'll do a little underline just to make it stand out. So the first person to note is Mary. Mary was the one who found the body, and she is a maid to the Colonel and his wife who own, is it Gossington Hall? Is that right? Yeah. Could she be a prime suspect? I don't know. Then we have Dolly Bantry. She is one of the people who owns the house, but she's also friends with Miss Marple. I think we can rule out Miss Marple as a suspect. She ain't that interesting. And then also her husband, Colonel, I don't know how to spell that, Colonel Bantry, who actually a lot of people suspect was maybe having an affair with the woman who was murdered. So that is a good theory, but it's not the theory that I'm going to personally go with. And he's also called Arthur. The next suspect, oh, you know what? These are just the characters. These are literally just the characters. There is Police Constable Pork, P-A-L-K. Oh crap, I almost just pulled out a page. We also have Colonel Melchet, who is a chief constable of the county. And I'm adding the law enforcement because in potentially one or two of the Agatha Christie books I've read, law enforcement was involved. So we're not ruling anybody out, apart from Miss Marple. The first chief suspect that the police constables end up getting is Basil Blake, who is a sort of, well, he's part of the film industry. He's not an actor, he's not like a big shot or anything, but he has come to this village and he does have a little bit more star appeal than most people. And he is also the party animal. He is the one who gets all these gorgeous platinum blonde girls, and he is the one who everyone immediately thought of when they saw that the person in the library, the dead body in the library, was a blonde. And again, I pink back out because we find out through a random phone call from somebody who was worried about someone, we end up finding out the name of the person who was dead. So, oh crap, Ruby Keene. There's our victim right there. Oh no, I'm accidentally like rubbing out the other side. Oh crap, what am I going to do? How am I supposed to hold this now? Excuse the mess, I need to be so careful. Like, don't worry, I will go like more in depth on like characters and stuff and things that they've done and said. I will go through a lot more in depth. But I'm just kind of getting the baseline of these characters so that you understand who these characters are too. Or at least the people who are potential suspects. Then we meet Josie. And Josie, after we find out who the victim is, she was a dancer at this hotel. And Josie is the deceased's cousin. Why have I put Josie's? Josie is related to the deceased. So she is like the only person so far we've got like an actual genuine connection to the person who was murdered. We have Raymond, who was Ruby's dancing partner at the hotel. We have Mr. Jefferson, who phoned the police about Ruby being missing, and he was the first one to show concern for her. The last person who potentially saw Ruby alive is George Bartlett. He was the last person who danced with her, so potentially the last person who saw her alive. Potentially. We have Mark Gaskell, who is the son-in-law of Mr. Jefferson, the one who phoned. Mrs. Jefferson, or Adelaide, who is the daughter-in-law of Mr. Jefferson. So Mr. Jefferson has a lot of in-laws, and he has it for a reason. I will explain. We have Mr. Prescott, who I believe owns the hotel that Ruby danced in. There is Peter Comody, but he is 9 years old. And he is the grandson of Mr. Jefferson. And he says some funny things, but I think it's safe to say that he is not a suspect. Watch me be wrong. Watch Miss Marple pull this out of her arsehole. You know what, actually, I don't want to be a mug. Let's write him down. You know what, I'm just interjecting here. But Agatha Christie has mentioned herself in her book, by the way. Peter says he loves detective stories. He's got autographs from Dorothy Sayers, Agatha Christie, Dixon Carr, and H.C. Bailey. So was this added in after Agatha Christie died, or did she actually write that herself? Did she actually say that this young boy got an autograph from Agatha Christie? Isn't it a little bit odd to do that? It's like breaking the fourth wall quite a lot. Unless that's important, unless it's the reader who murdered Ruby. Maybe that's the twist. Maybe it was us. Maybe it was me. It was Slagatha all along. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm going to write the reader here as well, just in case. Because you can't take any chances with the Miss Marple book. You really can't. I'm still not over it. There is also a Henry Clithering. I should have got a bigger board. We're gonna need a bigger board. What was his importance again? A retired investigator. I want to try and get his actual official title. But he knows Miss Marple. I feel inclined to believe he might be innocent. Oh yeah, he used to be Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. But he is just retired. And he knows Marple. And this is a list of all the characters we've been introduced to. So let me go through the story and what I think is interesting so far that we can add to any clues. I really don't have enough room. I don't have enough room. Okay, let me like try and rearrange some stuff. and we're going to go through clues and like plot points, story beats, what happened during the murder that we know of that could potentially lead to it, like who was in the house at what time, you know, things like that. Let's run through all of that, but I need to sort this out. This ain't on. I should have done a test run. But my skills of deduction lets me know that it was at least one of these. At least one of these. The name of the murderer is on this board right now. Unless we get introduced to someone at the very last minute, which I wouldn't be surprised at. Just had dinner, so I thought I would give you a little tour of the room first before I get into the nitty gritty of the story. This is my room. This is literally it. I have a bed, a little wardrobe thing. I like this. It's like a little table desk area. I like that. It is a bit of a mess right now as I have everything all over the floor. But then come through here, a little bedside table. Come through here, and this is the bathroom. So just a little thing, a really little thing. And look at that shower. Oh, like that'll be fun using. And then this is literally just the front where I come in. But also look at this. Look at this. Church and a graveyard right outside my room. Isn't that typical? The lighting is terrible right now, but I think it adds to the ambience. I did just go for food downstairs, and I also scored myself a bottle of Prosecco. Less than an hour until my Patreon live show. So, I want to try and give you at least a couple of potential suspects before that. And I think tomorrow, I'm going to read in the library, and I'm going to bring you along with me, of course. I'm going to read in the actual library, explore the library, do all of that. But that will be the proper investigation. We're just trying to lay everything down right now. Oh, what colour should we go for next? I feel like brown. I want dark colours so you guys can actually see. I'm just going to go through important story beats. Oh, that's terrible. I don't think you can see a single fucking thing. Okay, the budget on this video was not that large, okay? So as I've said, I've only read up to page 105, which is round about halfway. So first we do have Mary, the maid who discovers the body. She wakes up the colonel and his wife to tell them that the body is there. Then instantly Dolly, the wife, she ends up phoning Miss Marple to come and help. Why? I have no idea. Miss Marple has no authority. But with Miss Marple, she's just a busybody, which honestly, low-key respect. The thing is though, she doesn't really do anything. So she's actually done more in this than she did in 450 from Paddington, so I appreciate her for that. I hope I was allowed to take this up into my room. So Arthur, the husband, he says that he has no idea who she is. They phone the inspector, Inspector Slack. I don't even have him on the board. There's so many inspectors and detectives and constables, and I feel like I'm just going to eliminate all of them anyway off the suspect list, to be honest. Okay, this is just like a little nitpick. Well, not exactly a nitpick, but this is just so funny considering, like, obviously the time it was written in 1942, I think this was written, and just the language, like the way that they talk. Oh, there's something bad that comes up later on, by the way. Some problematic stuff, especially to do with ableism. We're going to get to that later. However, this is just me being a bitch because of the language. I know, one doesn't believe it, does one? Honestly, I kind of do love the way they talk. One just can't believe that people used to talk like that, could one? We're not going to talk about story. I mean, I'll tell you things that happen, of course, But honestly, the story is just a lot of asking questions, which is what Agatha Christie does a lot in her books, is that, yeah, there's just characters constantly asking questions, interrogating people. That's all pretty much is. But I will talk about the, really important plot points too. But I feel like this can be reserved for, well, oh yeah, as I said, clues. So I do have on this side the murder, the description of the victim and the crime scene. But maybe I can do clues here. So things that I think are important to deciphering. Although, is that what the crime scene part is for? No, this is more like character. These are character clues, that's it. You can tell I haven't planned this at all. This is going to be character clues. So if anything shady comes up about character, I'm pulling them up on it. Doesn't hurt to have a bit more Prosecco, does it? Yeah, I guess clues, alibis, things. See, the more we talk, the more we just understand what this investigation needs. Arthur, apparently his alibi was he was at a meeting. Whatever. Where's the corroboration? So this was between 10 and quarter to 12. So that's what, 11:45? That's a bit of a short meeting, isn't it? And at that time as well, 10 p.m. by the way. 10 p.m. we're talking about here. Really? And his wife, Dolly, she was asleep when he got home. So, is it her? Is it not her? Keep an eye on her. Okay, this might be important. Apparently a third housemaid heard groans and a blood-curdling yell and sinister footsteps in I don't know what. The second housemaid, who shares a room with her, says the other girl slept all night through without a sound. How does she know? Did she watch her all night long? Did she watch her sleep the entire time? What was she doing at this time? However, these housemates are not given a name, so we're not even going to include them as a suspect. However, I don't think there's any kind of clues I can pick from that, so we're just going to leave it. It's like we need to only focus on what's really important to fit on the murder whiteboard. I do want to circle back to the fact that they said it doesn't take much strength to have strangled her. It does open the idea that it wasn't a man, or it could still be a man, absolutely, but also that you can't rule out any of the female characters just yet. And if anything, it makes me suspect the female characters even more. Because why even mention that? Why mention that, Miss Christie? Josie was apparently playing a game in the hotel, like, bar thing, this bar place where the Ruby, the victim, danced, and that's where she was last seen alive. So Josie was apparently playing a game with a family, I think the Jefferson family, at the time she disappeared or left. However, she did go and look for Ruby, but came up blank. So, I mean, I'm not ruling her out just yet. However, it says, though she looked anxious and upset, she was not. So she didn't even seem to look upset that her cousin was dead, even though they were sharing a room together for the past 3 months. Why aren't you upset that your cousin's dead? You know? Like, why? So that is suspicious. I want to put that under Josie. That's a bit odd behaviour. That's a bit odd behaviour, love. I'm trying to hold so much. Also, the fact that she said, what swine men are, aren't they? Wait, so you know a man did it? Have you ever seen Scream? Where Tatum's like, well, you know, it could have easily been a woman. And then she was like, yeah, but it takes a man to do something like that. I'm getting those vibes. Still, it's like she's trying to deflect. It's like she's trying to plan that it's a man straight away. I might be reading too much into that, to be fair. I don't know if it's important to know that Josie has been limping as well, because apparently it happened during the summer and she tumbled off some rocks and she hurt her ankle. That is corroborated later by the hotel manager, and he was like very angry with her about it because he was like, well, you know, she was supposed to do a job. How selfish is she for doing this when she's a dancer? She should be more careful. He was a bit of a prick, not gonna lie. But it's something that they point out, that she does have a slight limp. So sequence of events before Ruby disappears then is that she and Raymond do 2 exhibition dances, one at 10:30 and the other at midnight. So her and Raymond do the dance at 10:30. Then she ends up dancing with another guy, George. And then after that, she goes up into her room, changes her clothes, and leaves. And we're going to get to George in a minute. We find out Mr. Jefferson is the one who called the police, not Josie. And when Josie tells the policeman about George Bartlett, there is a curious note of anger in her voice. Curiouser and curiouser. She is seeming to be like the most suspicious right now. There are some busybodies talking about the case, but we don't need to talk about them. I don't think they're going to be suspects for anything. It's just like people being busybodies, you know? Actually, let's check in on the suspects. The two most like obvious suspects right now, the ones where everyone seemed to be pointing at them, are Colonel Arthur and Josie. So I'm just checking in right now, saying those are probably the two main suspects. I don't know if I suspect them the most. I don't know if they're maybe too obvious, but that is what the text is kind of pushing you towards. So I'm kind of resisting it a little bit. It's like, Agatha, you're trying too hard, love, to try and make me get it wrong again. It ain't happening again. It ain't happening again. We're going to get into Mr. Jefferson and his in-laws now and the story behind them. When Josie is asked a question about them, again, she seems rather odd. Her manner changed at once when the Jeffersons were mentioned, especially to do with, where are they? Mark Gaskell and Adelaide. Mrs. Bantry said, they're both very nice, aren't they? The young ones, I mean. Josie said rather uncertainly, oh yes, they are. Yes, they are. Really? So yeah, she just acts so weird when talking about those two in particular. So I'm just like, again, very odd behaviour from Josie here. I feel like maybe she just knows something. Maybe she's just like covering something up. But we do find out that Mr. Jefferson, he is a bit older and he had a son and a daughter and a wife. And they were flying home one year from France and there was an accident. They were all killed. Pilot, Mrs. Jefferson, Rosamond and Frank, his daughter and son, and his wife. So Mr. Jefferson, Conway, had both legs so badly injured they had to be amputated. So they keep saying the word cripple and invalid so many times. It's like every single time a character refers to Mr. Jefferson, they have to use one of those words. And there was something they said as well. One of them said, oh, he was so handsome before, but now he's not. You know, I'm just like, wait, hang on. He had both of his legs amputated. How does that not make him attractive anymore? Honestly, the ableism, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It just shows you that the characters, well, at least the people in this time, were just, oh, shit. Oh my God, I've accidentally left the highlighter lid off and now there's a big highlighter stain on the bed. Can you see it there? Look. Probably think I've shit myself. So yeah, Mr. Jefferson, he is now disabled. His in-laws, his young in-laws, well, I guess this could be a motive for them because Mr. Jefferson wanted to adopt Ruby, the girl who got murdered, because he took a liking to her, and it's also suggested by Miss Marple that maybe he just wanted a replacement daughter. So he put her in the will 10 days before her death, and it meant that Mark Gaskell and Adelaide, their earnings from the will would be drastically changed. So there's motive there. So let's write that down. I'll just put money from will, because that is a pretty big motive if they were involved. I guess the alibi for them are that they were playing a game with Josie at the time at the hotel and with Mr. Jefferson. I don't know if you can see that, but I've done like a little bracket there. Their motives all seem to align. The thing is though, I don't think Mr. Jefferson has a motive to kill her. He left money to her in the will. He wanted to adopt her. So like that was a huge thing, unless he found out something about her that he didn't agree with. Maybe. And then we get to George Bartlett, the last person who saw her alive, the last person to dance with her. And honestly, he seems so sketchy. Like, so sketchy. How well did you know the dead girl, Mr. Bartlett? Oh, no, not well at all, sir. No, hardly at well. He is stuttering quite a lot. He doesn't have a stutter. So it's only when he's asked these questions about her that he acts very anxiously and that he's hiding something. So he is just shady. Anxious. Which, you know, to be fair though, I guess if we've been asked questions by a policeman about a murder, maybe naturally you would feel quite scared and anxious just in case. He says that he danced with her so around about 10, maybe to half 11, which is not long before the murder takes place. So she went off upstairs. That was the last time he apparently saw her. And then they asked him what he did next, and this is interesting. He goes, let's see now, what did I do? Well, waiting for you to tell us. Yes, of course. Jolly difficult remembering things. What? Let me see. Shouldn't be surprised if I went into the bar and had a drink. Did you go into the bar and have a drink? That's just it. I did have a drink. It was very nice outside. Yes, that's it. I strolled around a bit. So apparently he did go outside and maybe spent about an hour outside, but he just doesn't know. He can't remember. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, he could have been like really, really drunk and stuff, but the way he's acting about that, it's just so odd. He could literally just say, oh, I was like really drunk. I can't remember what happened. But like, he doesn't do that though. So again, just shady behaviour. He said, though, I might go for a spin, you see. Perhaps you did go for a spin. No, I didn't. Swear I didn't. I'm just like, what? What, mate? He's just confusing the life out of us. So I'm keeping an eye on him as well. I'm really narrowing the suspect list down. I think I want to rub all this out tomorrow and just start fresh. Actually, this is a huge thing against Adelaide and Mark. Yeah, I'm trying to keep them all together. So a boy called Peter, who I mentioned before, he is the son of Adelaide and Mark is his uncle. And he says, they didn't like grandfather making such a fuss of her. I expect that they're glad she's dead. And Superintendent Hobart asks, what did you have them say that? Well, not exactly. Uncle Mark said, well, it's one way out anyway. And Mum said, yes, but such a horrible one. And Uncle Mark said it was no good being hypocritical. When he says hypocritical, does that mean that they have talked about her death before? The boy kind of grasped on them. And then before the section ended that I read today, George comes up to them and says that he can't find his car. And it turns out his car is a Minoan 14, which a lot of people apparently have. It's the popular cheap car of the year. And there were 8 in the courtyard where they were right now, but none of them are his. Half an hour ago, they found a burnt out car in a quarry, Then's quarry, about 2 miles from here. Traces of a charred body inside. And the car in question is a Minoan 14, they think it is. So his car, which I don't know the body of the next person, I have no idea who they are yet. His car is now a crime scene. And it was most likely his car that drove Ruby to Goslington Hall. And now there is another dead body inside it. Who? Is it someone we've met? But George is just very, very weird in general. Okay, let's cross out the people I don't think were involved. Rita is still... It's still a question, isn't it? It's still a question if it's us. Mary, I think, is definitely not it. I don't think Dolly is either. I think she's too close to Miss Marple. I think they're probably just like too friendly for her to be the killer. I don't think it's any of the law enforcement. Mr. Prescott, he is the hotel owner, wasn't he? Yeah, I don't think it was him. Or me. Oh no, have I done that too early? No, I don't think so. I can always put them back on the list once I've read more, if anything else comes up. But so far, I don't think he's a suspect. Peter, the 9-year-old boy, I don't think so. And I don't think it was Henry. So that leaves these people. How do I feel about these? I don't think Mr. Jefferson. I do think he probably really cared for Ruby. But maybe she did take advantage of him for his money. I don't know yet. Maybe he found out that she didn't care about him at all. But I still don't think he did it. But maybe. So I guess that just leaves the reader, Arthur, Basil, which we haven't really got to that much, the film person, Josie, Raymond. Who the fuck's Raymond again? Oh, Raymond is the dancer. I keep forgetting about him. I'm going to keep him as a suspect for now. George, Mark, and Adelaide. They're my current suspects. Not that you can say anything on this board, but I will do a new one tomorrow, okay? Anyway, I think it's like 15 minutes until the live show now. So let's see if any of my patrons, aka, shit, it's just fallen over. Please don't tell me it's been rubbed out. Oh no, it's fine. Okay, 15 minutes until my live show with my patrons, aka Slagatha Salutes. So let's see if they think similar to me and if they have any sticker glue, because I don't think I have a bloody clue. Before we even get into it, can I tell you a story about how I got here? Oh my god. So I thought I would try and get some footage of me wearing my Detective Gav outfit. So I put it on at home and I wore it the entire journey. I wore it on the train with a coat over as well. So that's essentially wearing 2 coats, right? So get on the train. I had 3 different trains to get to here. And then I got off here. And then I had a 4th one I needed to get. But it was only going to be 5 minutes on the train. So I was like, oh, it's only 5 minutes. So I checked on the maps and it was a 50-minute walk. So I was like, there's a McDonald's on the way. Let's do it. So I decided to leave the train station. I think it was called Shotton or something. And then I get about halfway through the journey of walking. Oh my God, I was dying. I had to keep stopping. I was out of breath. It was hot as well. The sun came out of nowhere. It ended up being about an hour and a half journey walking because the maps kept sending me in private properties. I was absolutely knackered by the time I got here. My Detective Gav / Slagatha outfit caked in sweat. Caked. And guess what? 5 minutes before I went live, I accidentally dropped this, which still has bits of wine in it. on my outfit. So now I have red wine stains on my outfit. I can't wear it. I can't wear it anymore. Come on, we're going home. Slagatha sleuths. Slagatha sleuths. How you seeing this? Okay. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's going to clean me feet, and that's about it. I've been hungover most of today, haven't I? I literally already had a Prosecco in a wine. That's all I had. Ugh. I went to a lovely independent coffee shop this morning to read more of The Body in the Library. It was just opposite the library, so it was situated perfectly. And the little village that I'm in right now is just so gorgeous and so lovely. So I read some of The Body in the Library in the cafe, but then obviously I wanted to read most of it in a library. That was the whole point of this video. So I ended up going into the reading rooms for the first time in Gladstone's library, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is stunning. I tried my best to get a seat upstairs where it's the nicest, and so I could have gotten some like really nice shots of the place too, but unfortunately all the tables were taken upstairs. I was literally left with just a table in the corner, so I didn't really get that many good shots in the reading rooms. I'm so sorry. Like, this is why I came. This is why I came here, but alas, it just wasn't meant to be. So I read the rest of the section that I needed to read today before the Patreon live show and before the reveal. So I have read from chapters 9 through 16 today. Don't even feel like I'm that much further forward than before. Not gonna lie, I'm struggling a little bit with this one, so we're just gonna have to talk through it. The last I left you was at the end of chapter 8, and we had just discovered that there was a vehicle that belonged to George that was found with a body inside it, except it had been burned. And who is it? Who is it? So we actually find out pretty quickly who it is, and I am going to show you my new whiteboard. I decided to scratch it all and just start again because it was just so messy before. So now I have a side for Ruby, our original victim, who we need to find out who the hell murdered her, and now Pamela Reeves. Pamela Reeves is the second body, and she was actually first described as missing on page 30. So I quite like that little name drop of information quite early on before we even thought anything of her, but Pamela was mentioned. And she is a schoolgirl, and part of one foot and shoe are all that escaped the fire. So it's actually quite gnarly. If you ask me, that's killing my arm. It's actually quite gnarly, the fact that there was only a foot left from this blaze. Some of Pamela's friends are questioned, and this is when Miss Marple actually comes into it a little bit more. And I would say that she's had more autonomy in The Body in the Library than she did in 450 from Paddington. I felt like she's actually pulled a bit of her weight. Even though she hasn't really led the investigation, she's had really important moments, such as one with Pamela's friend, Florence Small. Florence Small reveals to Miss Marple that Pamela was on her way to meet a film producer, which ties back to Basil in a way, and that whole side of things, you know, like how he works in films. He's like a set designer person. So it was like, oh, interesting, we're going back to the film stuff, because I thought, oh, we aren't getting enough of like Basil. But now we have another suspect. We have definitely a male who sort of lured, I can't say that word, lured Pamela to a hotel. His hotel, it was mentioned. Whatever happened to Pamela was premeditated. It must have been planned in advance for this film producer person to tell her, oh, you know, you could be a great actress, you need to do a test screening and stuff, and don't worry about everything, I'm going to look after you. That was planning. But then how does that connect to Ruby? So our original victim. A couple of other things came out in this section that I read too, was the fact that she was actually found first in Basil's house. And again, we're tying back to Basil, and he ended up coming into home around about 2 a.m. I think it was, and he saw her on his rug. So he saw her body on his rug in his house, or in the cottage that he has with Dainya, and takes her to Gossington Hall where Arthur lives, and dumps the body in his library. So Basil was the one who put her in the library. However, Basil is not the one who killed her. If we can rule anybody out from this, it's Basil, because Miss Marple told us so, okay? She definitely says he is not the killer. She knows who the killer is, and like the absolute clowns we all are, we're just waiting for her to say. She will not tell us, and I honestly respect her for it. She's dragging it out, and you know, I feel dumb because I'm trying to connect the dots. I don't know if the dots are connecting. So what is the connection between Pamela and Ruby? Because I can definitely see motives and reasonings for killing Ruby from different characters, but Pamela is she's just thrown a curveball into it. Because if she was killed because she overheard something, then what was the whole thing with the film producer? So maybe Pamela does know something and the killer's trying to kill her. But I don't understand. I don't understand why Pamela's involved. Because they were both killed on the same night. And it ties to the hotel, meet him at his hotel. But I'm going to nail down my final suspect pretty much now. And before I do my live with my patrons, because I don't want them to influence my final decision. These are my final 8 suspects. We have Josephine Josie Turner. And again, she's like the only one who is blood related to Ruby. And I'm telling you, I genuinely feel like somebody who is really, really close to Ruby is the one who killed her or helped kill her. Because I'm not ruling out that this was just one person. At the minute, with 2 dead bodies, I'm feeling 2 people. I'm feeling at least 2 people did this. Especially when you think of the alibis that were given. It's just so confusing. It has to be 2 people. Yeah, Josie, she looked more anxious and upset. She automatically said a man did it as well, as if to deter, I think I've already mentioned this, to deter suspicion from her. She was weird about Mark and Adelaide, and her alibi that ties her with Adelaide, Mark and Mr. Conway are that they were all playing bridge at the same time in the lounge of the hotel. This is the thing with The Body in the Library. I don't think we've been given any clues to do with like the body, the crime scene, none of that. None of that. We're only getting character clues. As in, we're trying to figure this out based on how people react, what they say, which honestly is part of, well, a huge part of Agatha Christie books and whodunits. It is what the characters do, say, react. That is just standard. But we just haven't had any clues based on the crime scenes to tie us to whoever did it. Other than it was found in one person's house and then put in another one, but we've already explained that. Basil found her on his rug, which could tie her to Dainya, actually. Dainya, the blonde who Basil was saying. I think they said that she was married to Basil, and they have a cottage, and the body was found in the cottage that they have. And Basil came home, 2 a.m, saw the body, and was like, well, crap, I don't want police asking questions, and dumped the body somewhere else. So it could have been Dainya. And Basil could have been covering up for her. But we haven't really had that much of Dainya just yet. And there's nothing, like no alibi or anything. Maybe she killed her because maybe Basil was having a fling with her. Maybe that's an option. But we just haven't had nearly enough of Dainya to really consider her a true suspect. I'm just going to go through now. I'm going to cross Dainya off. So now we have 7. So one thing that's really fishy with Colonel Arthur Bantry is the fact that he said he had car trouble on the way home during the time of all of this happening. So somebody had to have had time to put Pamela in the car and burn her, kill her however she was killed, and do all of that at the time he apparently had car trouble on his way home. Like, that's very, very fishy. Yeah, it was between 9 and 11:45. He said he never saw the victim, Ruby, but dined in the hotel the previous Tuesday. So which is it? Has he never seen her before? Like, what's going on? However, the way he reacted at the very start, if he did kill someone and then somebody woke him up saying there's a body in the library, he would have had more of a reaction, right? He didn't really react at all. He just seemed very blasé about it all. And I don't think he has anything to hide. And I think it's really obvious if it was him, because, yeah, it was in his library, and the whole point was that it was going to make people take suspicion off them and make them think it was Arthur having an affair with the victim. So I'm going to take Arthur off as well. So now I'm down to 6. Josie, George, Adelaide, Raymond, Mark, and Mr. Conway. Another person that I kind of want to cross off, because I don't think we've had that much of them, and I don't have that much against them either, is Raymond Starr, the dancer who was dancing with Ruby. It was mentioned very briefly that he had tennis lessons with Adelaide. So that kind of connects them two together, and it is possible that they brewed up this kind of plan to kill Ruby and get the inheritance and live happily ever after together. However, I don't think there is anything romantic between them, because it seems Adelaide has a thing for Hugo. And there's just like no romantic chemistry between them at all. Like, there's just been nothing whatsoever other than the tennis lessons between them to connect them. So I'm kind of less likely to believe that that's a possibility. But I wanted to mention it because, you know, that crossed my mind when I saw that they were doing tennis lessons together. Because it would have been time to plan a murder. But I want to cross him off because again, I don't think he is important enough to be the killer. And I do feel very confident that it's somebody really big and important that we've had in the story quite prominently and was a really big thing in Ruby's life. It had to be. She's only been in that village for like, what, 3 months? The signs are still pointing to Josie. The thing with Josie is that her and Mark, for instance, when they are telling their alibi, they are the only two who leave at some point during the game. So their whole alibi was the fact that they were playing the game in the lounge. But there were moments when both of them left. So Mark, for instance, had to leave to write letters at one point. Bullshit, if you ask me. Josie, well, she was the one who was going around and about like trying to find her. But couldn't she have done something to her first, causing her to miss the midnight dance, and she's been playing this game as a sort of like, oh, I've been with them since she was last seen. So like when she leaves George and she goes up to her room to change, maybe that's when Josie went up and did something, knocked her out. She did have a narcotic apparently. I mean, she could have knocked her out right after the whole George thing and went down and played this game. So it's the only two people to have ever left that table were Josie and Mark. Whereas Adelaide, I think, has a really solid alibi in that she is there. And I do genuinely think at least one of the killers is female. At least. because of the whole emphasis on strength and how anybody could have done it. That was just like hugely hinted at. So even though I wrote Peter says some damning things because children say what's on their mind, again, I feel like that's probably a bit too easy too about Adelaide. And yes, she's having financial issues and problems, but she's kind of well off anyway. She's living with Conway, with her son. And, you know, she says, I'm sure she says at one point, she needs nothing really. Like, she's fine. I don't think there's any danger to her in terms of finances that would warrant her wanting to kill someone. I don't think she would do that. So I'm going to rule Adelaide out now too. So that leaves 4 people. George, I think, is too obvious. George is the one who, yeah, the car got stolen. It's his car. And he was so fishy during the investigation where he can't remember anything. But he could just be an alcoholic. We were talking with my patrons last night. He could just be an alcoholic. And the added nerves of a policeman asking questions obviously would have heightened that. So I think Agatha Christie threw him in there. And he's the last one to see her alive, apparently. It makes it seem like Agatha's pointing the finger at him and she's wanting you to look at him to throw you off the scent of the real killer. So I genuinely think he's like the obvious choice to be the killer, but that's exactly why I don't think it's him. Just based on the way that Agatha Christie structures her book, it's never the person who she's obviously being obvious about. So I'm going to strike out George. So that leaves Josie, Mr. Conway and Mark as the potentials. Now I want to circle Josie because I genuinely think she's involved. And I feel like with her and Ruby, there's definitely resentment there. She's way too angry at her. Yeah, like the way she presents herself is very bitter and angry. It's like she's almost jealous of Ruby. And with Mr. Conway adopting Ruby, like honestly, I just feel like that would have pissed Josie off so much that she would take her out and hopefully get the inheritance herself. Not that I know how that would work, but I don't, it's just, Josie is the only one who's close to her and related to her, so it's got to be Josie. I don't know between Mr. Conway and Mark, because Mr. Conway, when he reported Ruby missing, he reported her missing in the outfit that she died in, not the last outfit she was seen alive in. So if Ruby left the hotel, she went to change out of the outfit that everyone would have seen her dancing in to a new outfit that she died in, slipped out unseen through a side entrance or something, then how did he know what she was wearing when he reported her missing? How did he know that? I think it was Rachel on the Patreon live show last night that pointed that out, and I had totally missed it, and I was like, oh, you know what, actually, that makes sense. So this is the conversation that Conway had when he reported her missing. Ruby Keane, 18, occupational professional dancer, 5'4", slender, platinum blonde hair, blue eyes, retroussé nose, believed to be wearing white diamante evening dress, silver and sandal shoes. So a white diamante evening dress. But if that's what the police go by, that's how they identify that this is Ruby's body, then it should be a different dress to the one she danced in. That's very damning to me. Also the fact that Ruby looked like his daughter, and he is somebody who wants to, well, it seems like he wants to replace the loved ones that he's lost. And he's a man who likes to control his surroundings. And there's actually a moment where he gets a little bit angry with Ruby, judging from someone's past account of when a snapshot fell out of Ruby's bag of a man who she sees she's never seen before. And he gets angry at her for that. So he seems very possessive as well and angry. So like, if he found out that Ruby was seeing someone he didn't approve of, or that she lied to him, and she's also been said to be a gold digger and stuff, so there's all that too. Like, he could have found out about that, found out that she was using him, although I don't know, like, she might have been gold digging, she might not have been. That hasn't been clarified yet. It does seem like he wants control. At the same time, a lot of people say that he's a nice guy, and he's just a very lonely guy, and he just saw something in Ruby and he wanted to protect her. So I'm just conflicted with Conway. So the only connection here, and also it couldn't have been Conway if somebody met with Pamela, because if it was Conway, then we would know if it was him because he's in a wheelchair. Judging from this, it had to have been Mark who met Pamela, pretending to be a film producer, or Basil, who isn't a film producer, just said he was. But Basil's been exonerated from, well, to be fair, he could have not murdered Ruby, but murdered Pamela. And Miss Marple said he didn't murder Ruby, but she didn't say he didn't murder Pamela. Interesting. So maybe he could have done that. But no, because he isn't staying at that hotel. It's not his hotel. That was said from the witness. He did say, I wish I'd wrung her neck. which was probably getting too obvious. And he's got money issues, like really bad money issues. So like he would gain from it. But I don't understand the Pamela thing. Why would he kill Pamela? Why would he set up this whole thing to kill Pamela? I don't get it. I don't understand what was gained from Pamela. Did they put her body in Basil? Ooh, maybe. Okay, right, maybe this. Maybe they put Ruby's body in Basil's house, hoping that the police would find it there. However, Basil obviously found the body and then put it in Arthur's to shift that away from him. What if they wanted to do that so that they could frame Basil for it and then also do this whole thing with Pamela by saying, oh, I'm a film producer and stuff, to also tie that back to Basil? So that there are all these things that are against Basil. But why? Why are they trying to set up Basil for? I don't understand. But I don't think it could have been Common because he couldn't have met Pamela. And I do think he genuinely wanted to adopt Ruby. So why would he kill Ruby? It doesn't make sense. The thing is though, I'm crossing people out when I think they don't make sense. But at this point, I don't think any of them make sense when it comes to Pamela. I just can't understand Pamela. And also the fact that it was mentioned immense strength in arms and shoulders. I feel like that is maybe a red herring because we were told earlier, oh, it doesn't take much strength to kill her. And there was this emphasis on him having such great upper body strength. And I feel like that just kind of contradicts the whole it didn't take much strength to kill her, you know? So I don't think he killed her. I think Josie probably killed her. Mark probably killed Pamela. But I don't understand why. I don't understand why. This is just all I'm left with. And I think maybe they were trying to frame Basil. I don't know. The thing that's catching me though is the fact that he did report Ruby missing in the outfit. So maybe it was 3 people. Maybe it was 3 people. Maybe Mr. Conway did lose control and he didn't like what Ruby was doing with this. Maybe she was seeing someone and that's why she had a snapshot and he wasn't agreeing with that. So maybe he asked Mark and Josie to kill her. Why though? Like even if it was like out of rage, he would just kill her himself, which he could have done. But he has said, they literally say he has immense strength in arms and shoulders. And if he is the one who killed Ruby, then you would tell. You would be able to tell he wouldn't get that satin waistband and tied around her neck and kill her that way. I don't think that is something he would do. If he had immense strength in arms and shoulders, then he would have just grabbed her by the throat and strangled her. But he didn't. That's not how she died. She died from having that thing on and the emphasis on it doesn't take much strength to do that. So that does lead me to thinking Josie did that. How did he do that? How did he report her missing not wearing the same clothes? Unless he did see her leaving and maybe he's keeping a secret. Maybe he did see her leave. He didn't want to say anything because it would implicate her. No, I don't understand. And anyway, there was a lot of talk about Mr. Conway dying too. It feels like this all happened to get Conway's money. I feel like that is the big motive, is to get Conway's money. So I feel like the ultimate goal, I think, is to get Conway's money. So why would Conway be in on that? Why would he be involved in that? Because it seems like the recurring theme and the only motive that seems plausible is to get Conway's money and the will. I'm going to cross out Conway and I'm going to say it was Josie and Mark. Again, I don't understand why they would kill Pamela though. That had to have been Mark. He had to have been masquerading as this film producer. He's like the only suspect I have left who fits that bill. In Josie, she's close to the victim. Well, she's close to the first victim. Playing bridge thing with Jefferson, Mark and Adelaide. She had opportunity to leave and she did leave at one point. So she could have killed her in the hotel and then they could have waited until everyone was asleep, dumped the body in Basil's house, like maybe about 1 o'clock potentially. And then that's when Basil come home, so about 2 o'clock. So he takes that body to Arthur's house and dumps her there. And then at the same time, Mark took George's car, had asked Pamela to meet him. He killed her, put her in the car, burned it up. But I don't understand why he did that. But there we have it. Those are my final 2 suspects, Josie and Mark. I'm not as confident as I was with Hercule Poirot's Christmas. I was so confident with that one and I was so right, but I'm not confident with this. Not at all. So I have less than an hour for my Patreon live show and I'm going to tell them my theory, hear all of their theories. We're going to do like a little reading sprint to read the last 2 chapters and we're going to find out together who did it. And Miss Marple knows, she's just not telling anyone. Selfish cow. Hi, Agatha Sleuths. Actually, I haven't finished doing my tea. I've made myself a lovely tea, nice and British for tonight. This is just the tea and coffee that's in the room already, so it's not going to be nice. It's Yorkshire tea. It's Yorkshire tea. Cheers, everyone. Cheers to a job well done. Okay, it's time to read. And again, my final answer is Josie and Mark. I'm currently reading right now with my patrons. We've just started a 30-minute sprint. We're all going to find out the killer together. So many amazing theories in the live chat. I'm so glad I said my final theory before it, because I'm just so heavily influenced by the chat. And honestly, they've come up with some fantastic theories. Things I didn't even think of that make so much sense. And I'm just like, oh, how did I miss all of that? So anyway, we're going to continue on. And we're going to say if I am right, if it's Josie and Mark. But again, I feel like maybe I get a sense now of how they did it, if it was them, because of how my Agatha sleuths have worked it out. But I don't know for certain, because again, I just don't understand why when it comes to Pamela. Anyway, we're going to read the last 2 chapters now. Oh my god. The weird thing is that Miss Marple wants them to go to Somerset House, which I found out through the chat is a place where births, deaths, and marriages are recorded. And I just don't understand why Miss Marple is doing that. Jefferson's leaving the money Ruby was going to get to a hostel for young girls working as professional dancers in London. So he's about to change the will. Oh, so chapter 17's just ended with a near kill for Conway Jefferson. Someone was about to kill him with a needle. And they've stopped the murderer of Ruby Keene. So we're about to find out in chapter 18 who the fuck it is. Speaking as Watson, I want to know your methods, Miss Marple. It's not Miss Marple. Oh no. For a second I thought Miss Marple did it. Henry Clithering wants Marple to explain herself. Okay, of like how she figured it out. Miss Marple's mentioning something about nails and teeth, which I totally missed, and my patrons did pick up on it. It does look like Basil was being framed. Miss Marple, what are you getting at? Come on. 2 people benefited from the girl's death in terms of money. £50,000 is a lot of money. That's kind of why I ended up picking Josie and Mark. Ish. Also just process of elimination. Oh, it's not Adelaide, is it? Oh. Mrs. Jefferson was passionately devoted to her son, and some women have a curious idea that crimes committed for the sake of their offspring are most likely morally justified. Mr. Mark, of course, was a much more likely starter. Was it Mark and Adelaide? I said that at one point. Yeah, I was of the opinion that a woman was concerned in this crime. Same. The money angle seemed very suggestive, yes. The alibis were worthless. That's the whole reason why I picked Josie and Mark, because there was 2 moments during their alibi where they left Mark to write letters and Josie to look for Ruby, where she could have taken her out. So if the alibis are worthless, then what the hell? There must be a connection, but I can't find the connection either, love. Wait, was it Dainya? If it hadn't been for Danielle, I shouldn't have thought of it. The most obvious thing in the world, Somerset House, marriage. It wasn't a question of only Mr. Gaskell or Mrs. Jefferson. Wait, what? If either of those 2 were married, or even was likely to marry, then the other party to the marriage contract was involved too. What? The body in Colonel Bantry's library wasn't Ruby Keene at all. I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that at all. And that brings us straight to the one person who must be concerned. Josie. Yeah, Josie identified the body. Oh my god, I got chills. Does that mean Josie did it? She knew. She must have known that it wasn't Ruby, right? Right, but I didn't think of that. I did not think of that. Shit. She said it was. She was completely puzzled to find the body where it was. She apparently betrayed that fact. Why? Because she knew none better where it ought to have been found. True. True, and she seemed annoyed, she seemed angry. But I totally misjudged that. I thought it was because she just didn't like Ruby, which obviously she got her killed apparently. Has she got her killed? So I think I got one right. I did not get to the same conclusion, but I think I got one right. Marriage. If Josie and Mark Gaskell were actually married, then the whole thing was clear. But what? Mark and Josie were married a year ago. What? They were keeping it talking until Mr. Jefferson died. What? That doesn't make any sense. When was this ever alluded to? And how in the world did that come from her interaction with Dainya? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, it sounds so awful. I do feel so bad for Pamela if that's the case. Mark and Josie. I got it right. Oh my god, I got it right. I got it right. Shut the front door. He took Pamela's body to the college dressed in one of Ruby's old dresses and arranged it on the hearthrug. She was still unconscious but not dead when he strangled her with the belt of the frock. Oh, bless her. But why? Was it because they wanted a different time of death so that when they had their alibi, they could be excused. Yeah, so that he could drive back to the lounge where Ruby Keene, still alive and seen to be still alive, is dancing there. Nobody but Josie went into Josie's room. She probably finished the girl off then with an injection or a blow on the back of the head. She went down, danced with Raymond. She was there all along. Dressed her up in Pamela's clothes, carried the body down the side stairs. She was a strong... so I'm supposed to believe that she did all of that. She carried an 18-year-old girl down the stairs herself. Got George's car, drove 2 miles to the quarry, poured petrol over the car and set a light. So she did all of that, did she? I'm not gonna lie, I think that's bullshit. The whole marriage thing is bullshit. The whole marriage thing is absolute bullshit. I don't even understand how Miss Marple got to that. There was nothing, absolutely nothing that indicated that. Mark said her teeth ran down her throat, but the dead girl in Colonel Bantry's library had teeth that stuck out. They set them up as well with Jefferson. He wasn't going to change his will, but they set Mark and Josie up so that they would catch them in the act. Okay, that makes sense. I still don't get the marriage thing though. That's bullshit. And now Adelaide's just come out saying, I want to tell you something, Jeff, and once I'm going to marry Hugo. In the midst of all of this.
I'm just like, oh my God. Time and place.
Oh, and now Adelaide and Hugo are going to get lots of money in the will. What? Like, this has just gone crazy. Now they're just being happy over the marriage between Hugo and Adelaide. What? That was a shit ending, I'm not gonna lie, that was a shit ending. Poirot definitely reveals things a lot better than Miss Marple does, in my opinion. So I was right about who did it, Mark and Josie, but I did not get to that conclusion, that they switched the bodies. It makes sense now for Pamela why she was involved, or how they did it really, I didn't understand, or the whole alibi thing, the fact that they're married, what? That came out of nowhere. But you know, I don't care because it means I get a point. It means I get a point. So now it's 4-2 to Slagatha. Agatha, try harder next time, bitch. But literally, the only reason why I thought was them was because of the alibi. And the fact that both of them had an opportunity during that alibi. But the fact that the alibi didn't even matter in the end anyway. It's like, how did that become my only true clue? But also the fact that I knew it would be a woman, I knew it would be a man. Taking out all of the female characters, the only one really who I genuinely thought it would be was Josie. And then for all the male characters, the only person I thought it would genuinely be is Mark. Those were the only ones I was left with. But I hate the way that ended. I hate the way that that was revealed. I hate the fact that they were married this entire time for a year. They'd been married for a year. But it doesn't matter anyway, because I got the right people. I just didn't get the right context. So Slagatha strikes again. I think the latter half of this book really made it a little bit too obvious that they were the only two left who could have possibly done it. Honestly, my skills are unmatched. I figured it out from the wrong clues. So I put up an Instagram poll. I put, do I solve the body in the library? 79% said yes, and 21% said no. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your comments down below. Have you read The Body in the Library? Did you get it right? Did you get it wrong? Tell me everything. Also, if you have future Agatha Christie mysteries for me to read and try to solve, recommend them down below for me too. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons and my One Piece channel members for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon or my channel membership, then all the links are down in the description box, especially the Patreon, because we're going to do more of these together in the future, so do check that out. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye!